Hi friends, my name is Katie. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a book tag. I'm so excited. I have not done a book tag since I think I originally created this channel like almost 2 years ago. Today we're going to be doing the reading taste tag, and I originally saw this on Books and Mo's channel, Maria's channel, and they did credit the original creator, which was Thoughts on Tome. So I will make sure that all the information is linked in the description if you want to check out their channel, show their videos some love. Definitely recommend, but we're just going to dive right into it. So the first question has everything to do with our ratings. How do I rate books? Honestly, I am a mood person through and through in all ways. So my ratings also depend on my mood and how the book made me feel, truly. I am definitely somebody who is moved by my emotions, and so I'm not somebody who might be super nitpicky about certain things. I just want to know how a book makes me feel. So 5-star is not something I can describe to somebody else. It is so personal in my opinion, but to me, I know a 5-star almost immediately. It is a book that I don't want to put down. It is a book that I am just flying through, and I am just gripped by the characters and the world, and I just want to stay there forever and ever. And I almost know immediately that I want to pick it back up and I want to go back into this world, and that like this author is going to become my whole personality. I just know. And it is a feeling that I don't know how to describe to literally any other human, but like it is just the best feeling, the best feeling. A 4-star is a book that was like so close. There were just a few things that like just took me out of it, where I was just like, that doesn't seem believable. I don't think the characters would do that, or I didn't like this one aspect of the relationship or of the plot or the pacing. But a 4-star does mean that I would reread it and that I will keep it, right? It'll be a book trophy for sure. And then a 3-star is like middle of the road. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was a book. I read it. It exists, right? So it's a book that I will still recommend to certain people, but it is not a book that I will reread. It is not a book I will keep on my shelf unless it is like a special edition or something like that. It is a book where it's like, I loved it, I released it, I probably won't remember it after a couple of weeks. Once I hit that 3-star range though, I really do try to kind of do some self-check-ins where it's like, if I'm not enjoying it, if I'm not eager to pick it up, if I'm not vibing with the characters or the pacing or the plot, I try to just DNF, because I really don't enjoy rating 2 and 1 stars. I don't like it. I know authors work really hard on their books. I would much rather do that. But however, some of them sneak in there where I think it's going to get better, or it was recommended by a friend and so I want to see it through and I want to give it a fair shot. But I don't know if I've rated anything 1 stars. I know I've rated a couple 2 stars this year, but it's very, very rare because again, DNFing is just like self-care to me. I really enjoy DNFing because I'm like, I can move on. There's plenty of other books on my long list of books to read. So that's basically how I rate my books, if that makes sense. Majority of my books are 3 to 5 stars. Majority. I'd say my average rating is probably like between a 3 and a 4. The next question is, how do you review books? So like, what is your style? I would really say I like to be short and sweet and to the point, because I know a lot of people like don't have time to necessarily sit and listen to me yap about books. So like, I really want to like talk about how the book made me feel and what tropes you're going to see, and like to give you a quick analysis of like whether or not you might want to pick this up and add this to your TBR. Personally, for me, I don't need to know a lot of information to pick up a book. So I try to give the same thing, where it's like, maybe somebody doesn't want to know everything that happens in this book, but maybe they want to know like, oh my gosh, this book will make you feel like so much pain. It'll pull on your heartstrings and you will cry. Or, you know, oh my gosh, this book made me so mad. What were these characters thinking? Crazy. Or, you know, you might just want to know some tropes, like he falls first, add to cart, I'm in. Whenever I'm writing a review, I try to think of it as like I'm talking to one of my friends. The next question is, what book made you a reader? And honestly, I have to give a lot of credit to the Mediator series. I loved these books. Oh my gosh. If you've never read these books, I highly recommend you pick them up. Yes, we might be too old to read them now, but I need to reread them, honestly. There was something about them, but essentially we are following this character. I want to say her name is Suze. It's been a long time since I've read them, and she can see the dead, and it is like kind of her job. She does this thing where she helps them move on, and she is moving with her mom because I think her mom is getting remarried, or she is remarried. So they're moving to California, and she's moving into this new house, and there is a ghost who lives in her room. Oh, I want to say his name is Jesse. And yeah, big fan. Loved it so much. Probably could find things to pick apart now that I'm an adult, but like I just devoured these books. Like the way I just could not put them down. I remember staying up so late reading them, and like there's a book now that was released of the characters that are much older, and I haven't read it, mostly because I'm just like, no, I don't want to touch like where it was, like those memories I have of the series when I was younger. But maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do a whole thing where I read those books and then I read the new one and see how I feel. But it was just such a time, and I just think about those books all of the time. They were so interesting. And then, of course, Twilight. Ugh. They were the first books I bought with my own money, and then ACOTAR got me back in college, and it's been crazy since there. But those are the big three, I would say, that genuinely, like, I think about so often, and they just really changed the reading game for me. The next question is, do I have a genre niche? And truly, I don't like to be boxed, but I do believe I read primarily romance. I do think that is the genre that I love to pick up the most. However, I will read anything. For the most part, I am very open-minded in the fact that if somebody recommends me a book, I want to give it a fair shot. I'd say the genres that I cycle through the most are romance, fantasy, and thrillers. That is like my combination that I just love so much. However, romance and thrillers are easier for me. Fantasy does require like more brain power for me because my brain just doesn't process them the same way I do like when we're set in a contemporary world. The next question is, do I generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? And I'd like to say a combination. For the most part, though, I will say that like I have to care about the characters. If I don't care about the characters, then I don't care about the plot. So to me, it's really important to have characters that I connect to because like I'm following the story with them. So, I mean, I could be convinced depending on what the plot is, but I'd say that I probably primarily focus on characters first. Ooh, okay, this next question is really good, and it is, what is a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? And I would have to say The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I love them so much. The group of characters, I just literally, I never wanted to leave them. I really need to reread it. It is a series that is just so near and dear to my heart. I miss them so much. I also feel the same way about Lore Olympus and about Hookie. They are webtoons, but honestly, I don't care. I love them so much. I love them with my full chest. Those are all books and series that I recommend to absolutely everyone. They are just so good. I just want everyone to read them. But again, that's the fun thing, is reading is subjective, but I will take no criticisms on those books. Oh, okay, interesting. This is kind of connected to the other question. It says, what's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? Ooh, this is a hard question. Because for the most part, I know reading is so subjective that like, and I read so across the board that like it's so difficult to pinpoint what would be a thing. Just because they might not like the romance books that I read doesn't mean that they might not like romance. And just because, like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing where like many of my friends enjoy fantasy books and they might not be the fantasy books so that I love. That doesn't mean that like our tastes might not align. It just might mean that it might be more difficult to find the books that are necessarily like where we gap that bridge, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't think genuinely that would happen. I don't know. So I'm sorry, but I don't have an answer for this one. Okay, so the next question is, what's in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad, but you love them anyway? Well, first of all, I don't label anything bad personally, right? I would say maybe like a guilty pleasure. One thing I could say is I actually really enjoy Accidental Pregnancy. I know why people don't, right? Because for a lot of people, it is one of those things where it's like, usually the accidental pregnancy is the whole reason the couple gets together, and like many people don't find that satisfying because there's not a lot of development there. It's just like they just throws these characters together. Would they be together without the baby? I see it. I understand the complaints. I don't care. Personally, as somebody who doesn't have children, I always think it's interesting where it's like, gosh, what would happen? Personally, what I love about reading is that it gives you this safe space to explore things that like you might not want to happen to you in real life. You know, I'm still waiting for a portal to open up and for me to like fall into a fantasy world, but like, is that probably going to happen? No. But thank goodness I have books and I can read them. You probably don't want to end up in a rival kingdom where the other heir like hates your guts. You probably don't want that to really happen, right? But it's fun to be like, what if? What if this magically happened and I just woke up one day and this was my world, and you get to experience all this stuff, right? So all that to say, for the most part, I don't necessarily have guilty pleasures because like I just enjoy reading in general, and if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. Like it's one of those things where it's like we all don't have to agree to be readers, right? We can all have our things that make us unique and different, and I love that. Ooh, okay, love this question. It says, do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that, if present, immediately turns you off from a book? Yeah, yes. Two come to mind very quickly. One is insta love. Don't get me wrong, insta lust, I hear it, I understand it, right? If you see somebody and you're like, I love that man, I want to climb him like a tree. Oh my gosh, look at him, he is beautiful to look at. I get it, right? Insta love, like meeting somebody and immediately being like, I love this person, I love them, I am in love with them. Can you love someone in such a short period of time, right? I'm not talking about a couple of months. A couple of months, sure. Absolutely you can. Couple of weeks, maybe. But like I'm talking like you've been with somebody for 5 to 7 days. I know Love is Blind is a thing, I get it. But let's be for real. Do you really know somebody in 5 to 7 days? Do you? You're willing to ride or die for them forever? You love them through thick and thin forever after knowing them for 7 days? I don't think so. You haven't even probably had your first fight. So that's just for me personally, which is so funny because like my husband and I, we definitely like got engaged in 6 months. Like our trope in itself is probably very insta-lovey, right? And very fast paced. But for some reason in books, I don't believe it. I don't buy it. It just does not work for me. And then the other thing is bully romance. I don't know what it is. I know it's very popular, but for me, it just doesn't work because again, I want to believe that like these characters would choose to be together, and I don't like it when the male main character is like really, really hurtful to the female main character, right? Like does things that in my opinion are irredeemable because like I can't root for you then because I wouldn't want her to be with you. This is different if like they are enemies to lovers where they are like fighting against each other and they have like been raised their whole lives to hate each other. I get that. But again, if he does something harmful, right, like something awful, I'm still not going to root for it, right? For the most part, you want them to have that like where they're thrown together and then they have to learn to work together and then all of a sudden they learn that everything they knew about each other wasn't actually the truth, and you have that slow burn tendency, but like they're not purposely, you know, doing harmful things to each other. I personally really love when he is awful to everyone but her, right? He has that soft spot for the female main character. That is what I absolutely love. I don't mind if characters are morally gray and do wrong things. I just don't want them to do it to the love interest. Ooh, okay. What's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year, whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share? Oh, this is so hard. Ooh, okay, I got it. So what I will say is it is not necessarily underrated anymore. I feel like more people are learning about it. So a book that I do think is underrated is genuinely Peyton Corinne's books. So she wrote Unsteady and Unloved. Oh my gosh. If you like books that emotionally devastate you, that just like has characters where you just like, they're going through it. They're going through it and they are doing their best that they can, but they're trying to navigate life and they are just messy. They're messy and they're flawed, but like you root for them anyways. And then they find their people, oh my gosh, and they're slow burn and they're angsty and they're wonderful and I love them so much. I don't even know how to describe them, but I wish more people were talking about them and raving about them. People are definitely talking about them more now that Unsteady was traditionally published and Unloved was released earlier this year, but like I genuinely had not heard much about it until one of my friends was like, oh, you should definitely read this. And I was like, why is nobody talking about this? Why is this not even on my radar, right? I'm in so many of the different little like book communities. I couldn't believe that I hadn't heard anybody talking about this book. So glad I decided to give them a chance. I really, really love them. So if you enjoy some emotional damage with very interesting and flawed characters, I think you're going to have a really good time with these books. Like Peyton Corinne just loves to hurt you, but like in a way where you're like, thank you, can I have more? The next question is, what do you look for in writing? And truly, I don't know how to describe it. It's just I can tell very quickly whether or not it's writing that like I can just digest very easily, or if it's something I have to use like more brain power where I have to actually think about what I'm reading. And I don't necessarily know how to describe it, if that makes sense, because I can't look at one author and say it's this one, because sometimes I love the way an author will write third person, and then sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this is third person. Like there are authors that write third person that I don't even realize I'm reading third person. I'm like, oh, crazy, I didn't even know. So truly, I don't know how to describe it. For the most part, for writing, I can just either it has it or it doesn't. And to me, I would say the biggest thing I look for in writing is whether or not I can understand what is being described to me without you having to go super in depth. Another thing I look for in writing is that I really don't want it to be info dumpy. For me personally, I just really prefer when authors show versus tell. I know this is really hard. I know it's difficult, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm such a visual learner that I need to see examples. Like you don't just tell me the character is a good guy. How are they a good guy? What do they do that sets them apart from literally every other Joe Schmo? I need to know. That's what I also love about dual timelines and like second chance stories, because getting that background information really helps me understand what the characters are going through in the present, if that makes sense, versus them just telling me like, oh hey, we broke up 6 years ago, it was awful. What was awful about it? How awful was it? Was it like truly devastating? Like how did you recover from that? I need that information, and I need to go through it from the lens of the character and not just have the information told to me, if that makes sense. The next question is, how do you decide what to read next? And honestly, it is so messy. It is truly so messy. One is mood. right? It is my mood. What am I wanting to pick up? What am I wanting to grab? 2 is deadlines. I am in many book clubs. I am part of many PR companies, and I do receive ARCs through different ways. I will always try and look at deadlines, honestly, and see where I can squeeze in. And I try to always be ahead, because once you get behind on ARCs, it is so easy for things to just pile on and on and on. So deadlines are really important. What mood I'm in is really important. And then truly, you know, like I do kind of like get influenced based on like what my friends are reading and if I'm buddy reading and things like that. For the most part, I don't have a ton of wiggle room in terms of like books that I can just throw onto my TBR. Most of the time my months are pretty much pre-planned, especially because I do like readathons and things like that. So like the prompts are already made. I definitely do try to keep an eye on like what's being released and where I can squeeze it in here and there. But yeah, unfortunately my reading really is motivated and controlled by deadlines. The next question is, where do you get inspiration from your booktube content? So for the most part, let me be honest, it is also a mood thing. Like, what am I interested in filming? What do I want to talk about? Have I read anything recently that like really I feel like I need to just sit and yap about? But reading vlogs are truly my favorite. I just think they are the most interesting to watch. And so like to me, I think they're the most interesting to film. And everything else, it is genuinely inspired from watching other creators. I am so inspired by so many people. I love to just watch their videos and be like, oh my gosh, I should try that. And then you realize really quickly, like, everyone has their own personality and their own flair to their videos. So like you can never recreate the magic of somebody else. You can only ever be you. But I love being inspired by other people in this community. I love watching their videos and being like, I should try this, or I should try something similar. And that's really, I think, the whole point, is like to be inspired by one another, but like to make sure you give credit where credit is due, right? Ooh, okay, so this question is, if you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? A book you think deserves more attention, and why? And for this, I'm actually going to choose a series, and I'm going to say the Holland Brothers series by Rebecca Genchak. I binged these in a week. There are 3 books and I binged them and I loved them, and I just think about them all of the time. And I am currently trying to get an arc of book 4 because I need it desperately. Again, I had seen them around on Bookstagram, right? But I just feel like I haven't seen a ton of people being like, read this immediately. Like, what are you doing? Like, read it. Personally, one of the things I just love about these books so much is that the brothers are really the foundation of the series. They are just such a fun group of guys and they care so much about each other. And I feel like that is so rare. I feel like a lot of times in books, like, yes, the guys give each other a ton of crap and all that stuff, but like genuinely these guys show up and they take care of each other and they're always like a phone call away. That support system, I think, is just so good. And I already know that I'm just going to miss them so much when this series is over. The next question is, who are some booktubers that you think have similar reading tastes to you? This is so hard because, again, I kind of read all over the place, if that makes sense. So some of my friends have books that are similar that we really love, and then sometimes we have books that we're like, oh no, I hated that book, like absolutely not. So it's just really interesting to me. I mean, obviously I have to shout out Rainy from Rainy Blue Reads. One of the whole reasons we connected is because like we share such similar reading tastes. It's kind of like our own joke that we are kind of like twins. So I definitely have to mention her. And then I would say Bay from Bay's Reads. I just genuinely feel like we are long lost sisters. I don't know how to describe it. She just has like such a fun personality, but also I just think we really do align in terms of like the books that we pick up. Even though we do read different genres, I do think that we gravitate towards the same books in those genres, if that makes sense. And then I would also say Tori from Tori Between Pages. Tori does read more romantasy than I do, but I also think that we align like in our cowboy romances, in our romantic suspense, and then on some romantasies as well. And then I have to mention Jess from Peace Love Books. It would be a crime not to, because genuinely, like, old Katie was watching Jess's videos before I even had a booktube channel, and so it just feels like such a full circle moment, the fact that like we are in the same space. But she genuinely, so many of the books that I have read and enjoyed over the past who knows how many years have been because of books that I have seen on her recommendation videos. My friend and I used to sit and watch her book recommendation videos and her TBR videos to like add books to our TBR, you know, back when I had space to do so. So definitely a big shout out to Jess. I definitely think that we have a lot of similarities in what we pick up in terms of romance. Are there other booktubers that I definitely have similar reading tastes to? Absolutely. But I definitely think the people that I mentioned are the ones that I might have just a little bit more in common with currently. It definitely changes. I mean, my reading tastes change all of the time. But it wouldn't be a tag if I didn't tag other people to join in the fun, and I want to see their responses to so many of these questions as well. So I'm going to tag some of my friends in the description below, and hopefully they will put out a video doing this challenge as well. But if you are seeing this, please consider yourself tagged, and please feel free to tag me in your video so I can see it. I would love to see your responses. But the people I'm going to tag are Rainy from Rainy Blue Reads, Mel from Melanor Reads, Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy, Tori from Tori Between Pages, Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, Vanessa from Read with Dr. B, and Bree from The Booktuvers. If you're interested in watching more, here is a recent video, but thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!